Hello, my lovely humans. Today is Sunday, August 24th, and we are going to be talking about the Donna Adelson trial. I'm going to be doing summaries and recaps, and I will insert some shorts along the way of what is happening in the trial. The trial officially began on Friday, August 22nd. Now, it's very unusual for court to start on a Friday, but Judge Everett has been very upset about all the delays that have been happening because of mostly Donna's shenanigans and multiple just crazy delays. They had the longest motion in limine, which means that it's a pre-trial court date where they try to sort out a bunch of messiness and objections and evidence things that they don't want in and what witnesses can and can't be asked stuff. They get all of that sorted before trial begins so that court is as streamlined as possible. But this is Donna Adelson, and she does not do that. But let's start from the beginning. Let's do a little recap, and I will also link everything below, any previous videos that I've done on Donna Adelson, any other related videos, and of course the court, watching the court itself. I watched with Emily D. Baker because she helps break things down, and not to mention she has some amazing faces, and from the screenshots that I took, you will get to see some of those amazing faces. Everything will be linked below, and I am a law enthusiast. I am not an actual legal practicer myself, for transparency's sake. Let's do a little road so far, and go over the charges, and then we'll get into what happened. The victim in this case was Dan Markel. He was shot twice in the head sitting in his car in his garage in Tallahassee, Florida, July 18th, 2014. There were already 4 convictions in relation to his murder. It was a murder for hire. The 2 gunmen who were arrested were Garcia and Rivera, and then we have Charlie Adelson, who is Donna's son, and he is a dentist who was dating a woman named Catherine, aka Katie Magbanawa, and she had connections to Garcia and Rivera. She was Garcia's ex-girlfriend. They have a kid together, and then Rivera was childhood friends with Garcia. So the 2 of them grew up together, and they are not kindly individuals, to say the least. And so Donna has been charged as the mastermind behind the hired killing. The way that this is working for the prosecution is that Donna did not like that she could not control Dan Markel, and subsequently had less control over her daughter Wendi Adelson nee Markel, or Markel nee Adelson. And so she wanted control. The Adelsons all live in Miami, Florida, which is about in the southern middle part of the state of Florida here in America. Tallahassee, where Dan Markel and Wendi lived with their 2 children, Donna's grandchildren, are up at the north part of the state, and Tallahassee is about 8 hours from Miami, so a full workday travel. Donna hated that she had to continuously go up to there as often as she did, and really wanted the family to move to Miami. Wasn't having it. He was well established as a professor at Florida State University, and Wendi had a law practice, or was working in a law firm up in Tallahassee, and that's where their children had been born. They had them all registered in school, and that's also where Dan is from with his family. So he had no intentions to move, despite the constant, persistent, relentless urging by Donna. She continuously emailed and texted and called Wendi Adelson to do various forms of urging and coaxing to try to get the Markels to move to Miami. But it didn't end up working, and then when Wendi and Dan finally got a divorce, Wendi had asked to relocate the children to Miami. But the judge said that she's the one who filed for the divorce. She's the one who wants to move. And she could not deny the visitations to the father by moving the children so far away and taking them out of school. Because she's making that choice. She could choose to live and be close to her children in the Tallahassee area. If she wants to move to Miami, she would be doing that alone. And he ruled with prejudice. With prejudice means that she can't bring up this case again. It's permanently solved. This is the permanent ruling. This upset Donna. Had been sending constant emails again throughout the divorce. She was even helping edit. Donna is not a lawyer. She is the manager, imagine that, of the family's dental practice in Miami. But Wendi and her, she was sending her documents and they were editing them, finding out what they want to say. And Donna was very firm, telling Wendi to make sure her lawyer knew that the children being able to move to Miami was a non-negotiable in the divorce, a non-negotiable in family court. And it wasn't enough. Her efforts failed yet again. And so the only way she was going to get her grandchildren to move to Miami was if they got rid of Dan. And she tried. She tried insulting his religion. Dan Markel was Jewish, and she had told Wendi to dress the kids up in Sunday best and then take them pictures of them posing in front of a Catholic church. She had suggested trying to bribe him with, I'll pay for the house, I'll pay for the kids' schooling, I'll take care of the finances. Dan was not moving. And she even offered to split with Charlie Adelson, who was the good, obedient son, who became a dentist along with his father, who stayed in Miami, etc. Charlie Adelson also was willing to contribute $1 million at Donna's request. Tell Dan that we will pay him $1 million. We'll each pay a third. Donna and Harvey will pay a third, $333,000 that apparently they all just had. Wendi and Charlie would all contribute to give him $1 million to let the kids relocate to Miami. This also fell through, so Donna started making arrangements, saying terrible things like, let's show this who he's messing with. And Charlie Adelson had been saying things about knowing he knows people who are killers. He was going to hire a hitman. But then as a divorce present, got Wendi a TV instead. Now the TV has become an important part of things because of Donna's charges. Donna has 3 official charges against her. She has first-degree murder, conspiracy to commit first-degree murder, and soliciting for first-degree murder. What this means is just because you are not the person who does the stabby stab, just because you are not the person wielding the knife, just because you are not the person pulling the trigger on a gun, just because you're not the person putting the poison in the drink, or even the person serving the drink, does not mean that you are not going to catch a case. Alrighty? So you can still get charged with first-degree murder even if you're not the one who pulls the trigger. And in this case, Donna Adelson and conspiracy to commit first-degree murder and solicitation of first-degree murder are all separate charges. When you solicit something, you're asking somebody else to do it for you, which means you have intention to get it done. First-degree murder, the difference between first-degree murder and any other kind of murder charge is the absolute requirement of premeditation. You have to prove that this person meditated beforehand. They thought about, considered, planned, and did things wanting the murder to happen. even if somebody doesn't actually fully die, again, Dan Markel actually lived in the hospital for several hours before succumbing to his injuries. He did not die right away. Doesn't mean that you will not be charged with something. Because Donna is the rolling force behind this, allegedly, according to prosecution, people are innocent until proven guilty. Guilty in the court of law, saying that she's the mastermind. Her desire for control was so strong that she was willing to be the money hand behind the killing happening. And the way the communication, according to the prosecution, worked was like this. There's Donna Adelson talking to Charlie. Charlie's talking to his girlfriend Katie. Katie's talking to Garcia. Garcia's talking to Rivera. Wendi Adelson has also upset her mother by not being, because Donna Adelson is going for the I didn't do it, it's everybody else's fault, and she is fully willing to throw Wendi under the bus, which is what she has been trying to do for this last trial. But Wendi got her lawyer to quash or get rid of the subpoena for the defense, because otherwise she could not be provided immunity to talk against her mother. Now, there are spousal protection laws, which means you cannot force a spouse to talk against their spouse, but that protection does not extend to children or siblings. So we have the charges happening, and the prosecution showing the premeditation are going, okay, the fact that she's constantly throwing money, she's the one who really wants Wendi and the children to move to Miami. She really wanted to happen. She's the one sending threatening emails. She's the one saying, let's show him who he's messing with. And then she's the one who 5 days, this goes to the premeditation, 5 days before the murder again took place on Friday, July 18th of 2014. And then 5 days before that, Donna Adelson arranged a repairman to go to Wendi's house to fix her new TV. She's the one who made the time. And the prosecution is saying that that is showing the motivation. She knew what was going down Friday. Why couldn't she have the TV fixed any time before that or any time after that? They're saying that that was Donna making an alibi for Wendi, who would of course otherwise have been the main target of the police, because the police look to the spouse first when there's children involved. So Donna, is making a specific date to repair a TV that Charlie bought Wendi. This is all setting up that the reason why there was a new TV bought in the first place that might have some quirks and things that need fixed, and the reason why Donna's arranging for it is so that Wendi has an alibi that at the time and date of the murder, there is somebody there at Wendi's house, so she can't get charged with anything. So she has an alibi, like, no, I was here with the TV repairman. But Donna's the one who arranged that. So that shows not only that Donna had knowledge, that Donna had insider information, and that Donna is preparing for that. So if you're preparing, you thought about it, you're making active decisions around that. Also, suspiciously, Donna's control, because they're saying that the control is the problem that Donna has, that she couldn't control Dan Markel. And she was sending, while they were married, Match.com. She was on Match.com. Donna was on Match.com matching Wendi with other men while she was still married to Dan. Who does that? Donna Adelson, that's who. And then we also have that Donna was approached by an undercover agent, and she was given a piece of paper with blackmail information, and then she met up with Charlie Adelson, and they were talking about this TV again, where she was like, we need to talk. We need to meet up and bring some cash with you. I think the TV was around $5. Bring the TV money. And it turns out that the undercover agent, pretending to be a blackmailer, acting like he knew information of Donna being related to Dan's killing, had given her information. And then she arranged with Charlie Adelson to get that money, and Charlie Adelson started making arrangements to get rid of the blackmailer, the undercover agent in this case, because he was like, well, we're willing to give the money, but what if they just get seen as a target and it never ends up? The person keeps coming back for money. So Charlie makes that arrangement with Katie yet again. Katie was given money from Donna, and Donna had stapled wet dollar bills together. I don't know if you remember this. I'll put the little thing over here. But she had literally physically washed cash, because she doesn't know what money laundering is. But she had physically washed cash, and it was still wet, moldy, and had a musty smell to it, according to Katie. And the money was stapled in $100 and it was $100 bills stapled in $1,000 stacks. I don't know who staples money. That doesn't make sense to me. But here we go. The other thing that went to premeditation was that the boys, Dan was shot on a Friday. The boys went to school in Miami that Monday. So 2 days later, he's shot. 2 days later, they're in school in Miami from Tallahassee. This shows premeditation, because I don't know if you've ever moved. I moved a lot. I moved several times while I was in elementary school because my father was in the military. And I was often out of school anywhere between not only just because of the moves, but 4 days to a week, depending on how far away the move was, for us to get registered and signed up. Now, I understand that today everything might be streamlined and a little faster because it's done online, but we're talking 11 years ago. And when you have to go in, you have to set up contacts, you have to make sure that you have all of your relocation papers from the post office, you have to have all of that stuff signed up, medical records, dental records, stuff that the school needs for the school records, that all has to be established. And again, that can take several days. It took 3 days for me to do going from one end of a city to another when I had transferred schools from one city in the same city, just different parts of the city. It was a 3-day process. So the fact that in less than 2 days, over a weekend, no less, not even during business hours, business work week, over the weekend, the kids were already signed up and registered, and all of their stuff was sorted, and they were ready to go to school 2 days later. That means that all of the registration stuff had to happen beforehand. So, and that's very suspicious. Why would the kids be registered? Why would Donna and Wendi be registering and signing up the children to go to school that particular Monday? Why would they be set and ready to go to a new school on Monday, the 21st of July? And if you're wondering about how they're going to school in the summer, they were in daycare, preschool situations. But they were ready to go. How were they able to do that over a weekend in 2 days? And why specifically was it set up for that Monday? It's because Donna and Wendi knew that something was happening to Dan on Friday. Because remember, there was a court order that said that the children weren't allowed to relocate. If the children aren't allowed to relocate from their father from Tallahassee to Miami, why would you be registering them for school in Miami on that specific date? Premeditation. They knew when stuff was going down and they were making arrangements for afterwards. Then they continue to say that the control was what happened. They said the people who were prosecuted, and they said that the evidence would show the connection between Donna's rage about not being able to control Dan and the hired killing. The defense had a much shorter opening statement, and they basically said this crime happened, and it happened in this way. There were two gunmen. Charlie and Katie were involved. The people who were already prosecuted, yes, they did all those things. Dan did die in his garage from gunshot wounds. That all happened. But it had nothing to do with Donna. Donna is just a caring, loving mother-in-law / grandmother who doesn't want anything to happen to Dan. That emails and things that happened during a contentious divorce, she was just siding with Wendi during the divorce and being supportive of her daughter. But that doesn't mean that she did anything to commit murder, that there's no evidence of murder connected to Donna, that nobody knows Donna from anybody. And that's basically what their whole thing is that they're going with, is that you can't connect Donna to the murder. And it didn't take long. It did not take long for Judge Everett to already be mad at Donna. Immediately after opening statements, Judge Everett had to directly reprimand Donna about not being expressive, that she couldn't be shaking her head, rolling her eyes, which she had been, and that she couldn't have emotional breakdowns. She had, at one point, started kind of crying and being upset, and she was also actively nodding during her attorney's opening statement. And you can't do that. There are some natural, just unconscious reactions that the judge said can happen. But that for the most part, you have to just sit there. That Donna was intentionally like moving her head, and just, it was way too much, and it was needed to be reined in, and that she needed to calm down and not be like that. And the problem that Judge Everett had with this is that he's had to reprimand her almost every time they were in trial about not being outspoken, about controlling her face, etc. We got into the witnesses. The witnesses went pretty quickly. There are 66 witnesses that are listed for the prosecution case in chief. Doesn't mean we'll get 66. Those are just people they could call, or that they have potentially ready to call. And we moved through 6 of them really quickly, because none of them were cross-examined. Because again, the defense isn't saying that what happened didn't happen. They're saying that Donna had nothing to do with it. So the first witness that was brought up was the neighbor, Jim, who had been the one who found Dan Markell. He said that they are next door neighbors, like side-by-side neighbors to Dan Markell. And they heard a loud bang, the neighbor and his wife. And he went out to check it out, that there had been burglaries happening. So he was thinking that somebody was trying to shoot a lock off of a door to break in. And he saw a light-colored Prius, an unfamiliar vehicle, quickly pulling out of Dan's driveway and driving away. But the garage door remained open, and Danny's car was still running and still with the garage door open, and the neighbor thought that was odd, that was out of place. And so due to just a feeling of that's not right, he went into the garage, and he fully went into the garage and went up to the car. He saw that there was broken glass and saw that there was a bloody man inside. And according to the neighbor, Dan's head was just kind of rolling side to side. He called 911, and then emergency, and he said that it took forever for emergency medical people to arrive. Very, very unpleased about that length of time, just based on his tone. And again, he wasn't cross-examined. Then we had a first responder, a former sergeant, who was the first person on the scene, who was there to secure it. He happened to be on patrol nearby, so he was able to get there very quickly. Then we had a forensics expert, Miss Maltese, or Mrs. Maltese, I don't know what it is. And everything was organized. All of the officers in this case, they all made reports immediately. They were all dated and signed. All of the stuff was in perfect order. A far cry from what we had in Massachusetts. And yeah, she was like, yep, I took these photos, I took these times, here they are. She presented her thing. She had one of the longer testimonies, but again, there was no cross-examination. Then we had the coroner. Check out this magnificent beard. Check out this beard. I love that beard. He has been the coroner, and it turns out that he actually studied in Massachusetts. It's like, that's crazy. I mean, maybe it's not crazy. It's just, it seems weird since I just did the trial thing from Massachusetts. But he reported what he reported, said that it was a homicide, that based on the gunpowder residue and everything, that somebody couldn't hold a gun that far out, like a person's arm doesn't go far enough out for the damage amount and residue and all of that stuff. Again, no cross-examination. We didn't get cross-examination until the detective came on there. And this is where Ish hit the fan, okay? How Ish hit the fan with this is that there were emails that were brought up between this investigator and detective from Donna Adelson and other people, and the defense argued about it. It was because of the contention of the divorce and how involved Donna actually was with the divorce proceedings. And the defense made a big whiff about it, and they were like, you can't connect these emails to the murder. They don't have anything to do with the murder. This is not blah blah blah. And the judge was look at this judge's face. Judge Everett was just raging, seething, but in a very even-keeled kind of way, because he's a respectful man. Loving Judge Everett, let me tell you, love it. I couldn't stand Bev, but Judge Everett, all the respect, absolutely adore. He just was like, you could practically hear him wanting to talk through his teeth, just going, we already discussed this. Why are you bringing it up again when we have already sorted this issue? My ruling stands. I'm not changing my mind. And then he was even with the prosecution too. Like, he aimed it at the defense, and then he looked at the prosecution and was like, you need to connect. You need to make a nexus for every one of these emails. It can't be collective, because that was my ruling. And like I said, he's a lot better than I am about, like, showing that displeasure, but also being smooth about it. But that was the vibe I was getting. He was like, but he's being a respectful judge on the stand. He almost made the jury leave, and he made it very clear that if they had to argue stuff that was already argued, it wasn't going to be a happy day for anybody in that courtroom. That didn't end up happening. The detective was brought back on. He finished his stuff. He had a very short cross-examination. And it really didn't go well for the defense because he was like, this is the report. These are the emails. This is what happened. I can't change. I didn't make these emails. I just investigated them. And you know what he had? Everything in evenly dated reports. Every time he had information, it was all organized. It means a lot. If you weren't here for the Karen Reed trial, you don't understand what an absolute evidentiary mess that was. But then we had our last witness of the day, which I think is a very interesting witness, and it is Luis Rivera. Luis Rivera is the one who flipped on everybody. Okay, he was willing to turn on his childhood best friend to get a plea deal. He took a plea deal, and he just, because he doesn't care. And so when he got up there, he's already been prosecuted. He's in prison, and he was already in prison before everything happened for separate federal racketeering charges. So he's in jail or in prison already, and he was brought in. And when he sat down, I have never seen somebody who could not care less about anything. But Rivera was sitting there, and when he was asked questions, it was like, did you take money to kill somebody? Yeah. Do you know who he was? Not personally. How did you know about him? Through my friend and his girlfriend, now wife. It's like, she said that there were people willing to pay because somebody wants some kids, and I was like, I'll shoot somebody for some money, let's go. And he was the one who, he said that Garcia, his friend that he turned on, was the one who actually was the physical gunman who pulled the trigger, and he drove the Prius. He was the getaway driving vehicle. And he was asked, known that Charlie Adelson, who he called the dentist, had a safe full of money. And he goes, no, I did not. And it was basically, would you have driven to Tallahassee to commit this murder if you knew that the dentist had a safe full of money? And he went, no. And she went, and why not? And he said, I would have just robbed him. I would have stayed here and just robbed the dentist. I would have robbed him myself. Which makes sense because, one, robbery, not as heavy a charge risk as murder. And that's actually, like, little side note here. Whenever it comes to somebody getting murdered, anybody else who's around, they are willing to admit to some drug charges real quick. They're like, listen, I did some stuff with drugs. I'll tell you everything else. Don't charge me with murder. Because nobody wants that charge. And he was like, no. He's like, yeah, I was willing to pull the trigger, but why would I bother driving 8 hours plus to Tallahassee and splitting the money with two other people? Even if it was my best friend, I would have just robbed the dentist and taken all that money for myself. Yes. But he was just straightforward. Every question, did you do this? Yes. Did you accept money? Yes. Was it this amount? Yes. And it was like, do you know any of these other things? Nope, don't know that person. Nope, don't care. Not really. It was just, yes, ma'am, yes, ma'am. No, I don't think so. Not really. Just all straightforward questions. Just boom, 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 boom. Because that's all you need. He's already in jail. What is he going to lie about? And that was the last witness on the stand. And the judge was like, I presume we will not have any more issues with this stuff. If you have any other questions about motions, they need to be brought up before the jury is brought in. Judges are not cool with wasting jurors' time, because